What's going on, everyone? My name is Venator, and I hope you guys are having a wonderful Saturday. In today's video, we are back on Petits Pieds NA server, continuing our Tyrannosaurus Rex. If you missed that video, we left off right after I had just entombed my prime Tyrannosaurus for the first time. And today, we're picking up the story of my entombed Rex just after the really fast phase. So if you haven't seen my how to grow video, it'll be linked down below. But I used that same strategy that I talk about in that video at the start of this guy's life. I just sat in a bush, let my hunger drop, scavenged a corpse at low pop, and rinsed and repeated that process until I was about 500 kilos and could run around the map really fast. Once you're at that stage, I hit my sanctuary, and then I made my way all the way over here to East Jungle. And as you can see, we're about 1,300 kilos, so we are just now leaving the really fast phase, and our speed will drastically start to drop. I can still get around pretty quick right here and scavenge when I need to, so makes for a pretty easy and nice video starting point. So if you guys enjoy it, please feel free and leave a like or comment down below. So without further ado, let's jump right in to my first entombed Tyrannosaurus Rex. After filling up on that body, I let my hunger drop for some time, and I crossed that threshold from about 1,800, 1,900 kilos to the 2.7 ton mark. And then I made my way over to the sanctuary side of East Lake to see if I could catch anything off guard running on the road. And sure enough, luck was on my side. So after killing that stego and filling up my food and diets the best I could, I took cover back in a bush where I could select my 6th mutation. Now if you missed the last video, I took for my first 4 enhanced digestion, efficient digestion, osteo, and then traumatic thrombosis. For my 5th, I took congenital. That way, if I get into fights with things bigger than me, it can help me out. And so for this 6th one, I was really kind of stumped at what I should take. There's a lot of good options, but as a Rex, I personally like to play it and opt for survival. So I landed on epidermal fibrosis. That way, I would have better bleed resistance when I'm fighting those pesky stegos. And as you can see, because of my entombment, my original 4 mutations have that nice little buff to them. Anyway, after more bush sitting and letting my hunger drop in safety, I made my way over to the Delta Sanctuary area. I had a friend headed my way that I was trying to meet up with, and I found this body on the way. A great find for a growing Rex. And after filling up, I had finally hit 5 tons. So shortly, I would change to those big footsteps, and this is where you got to kind of change your play style. You have to do a lot more walking rather than running and creeping to approach your prey. Anyway, I made my way around the south side of the Delta Sanctuary, through the gate into the Delta area, and met up with my buddy NRG Blindside. We'd met on the Petits Discord, and we're both looking for a partner to play with. Unfortunately though, we didn't find much food at all in Delta, other than a full prime trike looking for Rexes to fight, and he was staying around the bridge, so there was no shot of us taking that fight. So we made our way over to my favorite area to hunt in as a Rex, or maybe second favorite. I can't really decide if I like West Rail or Highlands better, but Highlands has these incredibly huge bushes that allow you to ambush all manner of prey from. Unfortunately though, it was just not our day. My hunger was getting lower and lower, and all we could really do was scavenge small bodies. Blindside was able to drag this body from the water and put it close enough where I could at least eat it without having to worry too much about getting super lunged. I was pretty skeptical at this placement of the corpse, because as a Dino main, I'm still pretty sure I'm within range of getting grabbed. But Blindside kept an eye out, and I finished it up. Not much, but it's fuel in the tank. And we didn't have to wait long. There was plenty of small corpses around, so I was able to just keep cleaning up the small bodies. And although it's not diet, food is food, and it keeps off that dreaded starvation. Since I was able to scavenge enough bodies to get my hunger back to a decent level, we figured it was time to move on. We hadn't found much of anything in Highlands, so we made our way over to one of my other favorite hunting spots that I mentioned just a few seconds ago, West Rail. And this is where we had our first dangerous encounter. We found a family of Stegosaurus. Now these things can kill a small growing Rex like myself very quickly. So we waited and watched from the shadows, using bushes and trees and hills to cover our silhouettes. It was nighttime, so they couldn't see us nearly as well as we could see them. And that's when we noticed one of them split off from the group, so we made that one the target. Hope you guys enjoy this hunt. And thanks to Blindside, we got that stego down very easily. I stayed in there and took one unnecessary hit, but it didn't get me to wounded. So I was able to get out all the organs I needed and fill up my hunger and diet, and then make my way over to a bush and heal up this bleed. And after filling up and resting off that stego body, letting my hunger drop just under half, we made our way back over to Highlands, where I found this small dibble who saw us way too late and tried to escape. Any amount of food always helps. Unfortunately though, our luck after that in Highlands didn't improve. We didn't find much of anything. So we made our way back over to West Rail when we found these two aloes that had a Maya corpse, and one of them was an albino. So I really thought I might have a chance at running these guys down, but they were way too fast. I even waited and used my ambush speed, but I couldn't tell how big they are. Sometimes really big aloes are a little bit slow and you have a chance at catching them. After I realized that that was absolutely not happening, I retreated back to Blindside to go feast on the Maya corpse. And getting this Maya corpse is huge. My hunger was getting pretty low and my Y diet was non-existent. It seems like Y diet is always the hardest one to get. And shortly after, we noticed this stego running right towards us. So we decided to try and set up an ambush because we thought this would be the perfect opportunity to top off our hunger. But little did we know, we were the ambushees. This guy had two full prime stegos waiting in the trees, and they ran out and separated us. Unfortunately, NRG wasn't able to turn around and run back to the safety of the jungle. I was fine. I could escape these guys, and there was nothing I could do to help him. I was just simply too small. But I wasn't out of the fire yet. These aloes saw the opportunity to ambush me and tried to take me down. And I won't lie, I got pretty lucky right there that that first aloe pounced into my head and I was able to get the leg break on him. Had that not happened, they more than likely would have been able to pin me, as I'm just over 7 tons. So if they're both full primes, they have the weight to get me down, especially once I lose some stamina. Thankfully though, I was able to get both of them before they got me. And so I immediately ran to this bush to sit down and heal my bleed because there was another aloe lurking around. I don't think he was with them, but I didn't want to risk it. And unfortunately, NRG did go down to the stegos. So after completely healing up, my hunger was back down about half, so I was making my way to meet up with another friend of mine, Shadow, but I had to cut through the Highland Sanctuary. For those that don't know, Petits has a rule or a mechanic that doesn't allow adults into the sanctuary. It will really hurt your food and water and then eventually damage and kill you. But if you walk up to the sanctuary and wait for the first message to appear, you can run right through in 1 stamina bar and make it without hitting any of the debuffs. And so I made it all the way over to the North Highland Lake where my buddy Shadow was engaged with a trike. He had already killed one smaller trike that I think was with this guy. So I was able to fill up on my food, and since I wasn't that big and had just almost lost my life to some stegos and aloes, I wasn't really itching for a fight. So I made my way over to Shadow and we would group up and attempt to walk off. But this Triceratops was not letting it go. To me, he appeared like he was at least a large prime, if not a full prime. And my boy Shadow, he was not at full prime yet, and I hadn't even hit adult. So we really weren't trying to take this fight. We thought he would just leave us alone and walk away. I mean, we could easily get away and run off if we really wanted to. But this guy, he wasn't having it. I guess he wanted to fight or die. So Shadow and I decided that that was fine with us and we would gladly grant his request. And we played that about perfectly. I didn't take any hits, and Shadow, he didn't take any thrashes. He took a few pokes here and there, but overall, we played that as about as well as you could. And we were rewarded with a really good meal. This would hold us over and help get me all the way to Prime. But we didn't stop there. Since we had so much food, there was no reason to leave. So we spread out amongst the large bushes to see what we could ambush. And that night, we found another Triceratops. So we made our approach. And this guy, well, he was not a prime. So Shadow would make quick work of him. And this guy, realizing the situation he was in, decided to accept his fate and lay down and let us finish him off. And come that next morning, we continued our ambushing and was able to get a nice stego down. I didn't even really see this guy. Shadow spotted him from the distance and ran him down and killed him almost instantly. I just came up for the finishing touch. And then later on into the day, we were making our way back over to West Rail when we spotted these two dibbles. Shadow was able to get one, but I just wasn't quite fast enough to run this guy down. But as we were just about to exit the Highlands area, I noticed this small stego trying to make a run for it unnoticed. But unfortunately for him, I did take notice, and well, you guys know me, I have a little bit of prejudice against stegos, so I will go out of my way to kill them. Can't let this guy get all the way up to full prime and go around killing other Tyrannosaurs. And not long after that, that is where Shadow and I would part ways. He had to get off for the evening, but I was determined to finish this guy out, so I hung around until I eventually hit full adult and got prime on my first entombed Tyrannosaurus Rex. And as for my last two mutations, I decided to take multi-chambered lungs. That way I would have a little bit better stamina threshold for regeneration, and then I took hypermetabolic. That way, when my hunger was low, I know at least I have an edge in the bite force. And so now, I have 8 mutations on my first entombed Tyrannosaurus Rex. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and be sure and tune in next time, where you get to see all the killing I did on this first entombed Prime Rex. Thank you all for watching, we'll see you all next time, and happy hunting.